Our book describes the cognitive load theory as a psychological theory that attempts to explain how different tasks and technologies place varying demands on working memory that has limited capacity. And I think if you've ever stepped in the classroom, and I was a high school teacher for many years before moving into higher ed, you understand that your students, you're always trying to balance your pedagogical end game with with their ability, and then throughout that sort of time period understand that you don't want to overload their cognitive ability and their cognitive load. I had a firsthand experience with this several years ago when I first started working at Liberty University, where I was helping teach a technology class for professors on presentation tools, and I was teaching Prezi, which at the time 4 or 5 years ago was sort of the height of sort of cool presentation technology. And so I was teaching the class, but throughout the class I was teaching, I noticed one professor was giving me body language that sort of led me to believe that she was very frustrated. And so by the time I ended the class, I went up to her and I said, "Dr. So and so, what seems to be the issue?" And she was like, "Corey, I'm going to be teaching at the medical school in a few weeks. I'm a retired pediatrician, and I've never done a PowerPoint before." So, just like in the presentation we had this week, I did not do a good job of understanding where my students were coming into the class. I did not identify their entry point, and because of that, I was just assuming that they were coming into the course understanding basic PowerPoint and that they could step up to Prezi, instead of understanding that my students were at a different place. And therefore, I was overloading her cognitively. She could not understand Prezi because she didn't have ability, she didn't have a base knowledge. And I think that goes hand in hand in where we're going in the future in learning, with the scientific principle of distributed learning, where it's scientifically known that we learn better in small chunks. So we learn, we go away, we learn, we go away. That gets it into deep learning, instead of the way I learned in college, which was learn, go away, before the test, cram, try to regurgitate the correct answer. So I think that distributed practice that I think is in a lot of technologies and that's coming to the forefront in a lot of educational tools is going to help us, because it's going to lessen the cognitive load on our students, because we're going to ask less of them. Learn it a little chunks. We're going to test it. We're going to relearn it. We're going to test it. But you're going to go away between, because we understand that it's in those going away moments where that learning is going to go deep into your brain. So I think as the future goes along, that cognitive load theory, where we're used to overload students, is going to go away as we better understand how to balance, find where they are, understand our pedagogical outcomes, and in the middle, understand we can't overload them cognitively, because they just won't learn it as well as we want them to.